idea of a Lloyd's syndicate being closer to the U.S. was very attractive. The tax efficiencies also, capital efficiencies also very attractive. The expertise that's already on the island, the infrastructure that's already there. You've got a marketplace that's established, and obviously way back when in the 80s it wasn't, but nowadays Bermuda, you have that mile radius of companies that insurance companies can go to to buy reinsurance, or Fortune 1000 companies to buy insurance. It's just the ease of access. And I am going to talk about other jurisdictions and names. And one in particular, when we talk about Ireland, and truthfully, I think Ireland, they could be in competition, with us, but they can't get out of their own way. Number one, they've got terrible economic problems. Number two, their regulators are putting onerous laws, for companies to set up and different things to have to do. So they're not making it attractive. And Bermuda, it really is the ease of entry, the user friendliness of the Bermuda Monetary Authority, and getting to know the government and letting them understand what you're trying to do. It's all worked very well for us. The other thing, when you talk about Zurich, people make their different deals with throughout Switzerland, and there's no marketplace. So you've got people all scattered all over the place, and so you're not seeing the amount of business that you would see in the likes of Bermuda and London, or New York City. And I do think that those three jurisdictions are all pretty comparable in terms of seeing the business coming to them.
What you have is, at least in the service provider market and in the underwriter market and the actuarial market, you have this large concentration of expertise that all kind of feeds off each other.
Yeah.
I mean, prior to moving to Bermuda, I'm not sure I knew what an actuary was. Actually, I did, because they were part of my standard joke. I became a tax guy because there's actuaries in insurance. They make us look personable. But anyway, but now there's such a concentration of that talent, and all the companies are vying for it because they want the best talent, and it just forces a kind of a general upswell in the quality of both service providers, underwriters, simply because it's so concentrated.
But I think it's important, as I look at 2010 and 2011, what is different, and I think it really comes part of more of a broader question about capital and capital management. And we think about how we got here. I think unlike many of the other sectors in the financial services industry, Bermuda reinsurers did relatively very well, and they were able to spin off additional capital through income over the troubling years that we had. And at that same time, we're seeing credit spreads expand, and we're reluctant to give some of that excess capital back to the market in the form of dividends or share repurchases, and now are really, having done nothing more than exercised, very good risk management, are paying the price for that. Combined with that in 2010, and I don't see anybody saying that it's going to change quickly in 2011, premium rates were still in a very soft market. I think it's an important reflection point for companies. Do they continue to make announcements, as we've all seen in the press, about aggressive share repurchases to drive the price to book ratio back in line with what they'd like? And I think at the same time, many companies are also thinking about Solvency II in their capital management, and thinking of better ways to expand, not necessarily solely for going after premium, but also in targeted ways, looking at how they might look at M&A to help them expand their diversification, be it by size or just in lines of business and other markets they're not a part of.
But Solvency II is in full flight in Europe. The BMA is well down has published a roadmap for Solvency II, and is well on the way to trying to achieve equivalence. And so, Tom, I'll kick this over to you. Maybe can you give us a sort of brief overview of what the BMA is doing, and maybe more importantly, the impact on the Bermuda market?
Talk about the BMA's effort. I'd have to talk about Solvency II in Europe to begin with. And if I was to put Solvency II in a nutshell, I would say it's the EU's new legislation governing insurance operations in Europe, due to come effective December 31st, 2012. Why does Bermuda care? Well, it not only includes insurance operations in Europe, it includes companies doing business in Europe as regards insurance. So the discussion on Solvency II started way back in 2003, so clearly that predates any of the most recent financial crisis, but the literature coming out and the guidance is obviously shaped by the most recent financial crisis. If I was to elaborate a little more on Solvency II, which will help me explain what the BMA are doing, I'd say Solvency II is based on 3 pillars. Pillar 1 is focused on quantitative requirements, so valuing your assets and liabilities and capital. Pillar 2 is focused on your company's internal risk management, so it's a very European philosophy on risk management. And Pillar 3 talks about public disclosure, so all us SEC registrants, you're already very used to that, but it's not something that a lot of companies in Europe would necessarily be used to. So those are 3 pillars that formulate Solvency II. Why does Bermuda care about this initiative? I guess a couple of points on that. To stay competitive as a jurisdiction, Bermuda considers equivalence key. So to keep companies coming to Bermuda, we want to be equivalent. It's also a way to upgrade our current regulatory environment. So, you know, the Bermuda has been progressing along, but now we've got Solvency II, which there's some good thought leadership coming out of Solvency II from a regulatory perspective. So the BMA is taking the initiative to bring that into Bermuda. Thirdly, I would say the marketplace generally wants to be somewhat of some of the features of Solvency II, so the marketplace is driving it to a certain extent. And then obviously standing still is sometimes not a good option. So I guess with Solvency II and the initiative around it, and a lot of other jurisdictions having some similar regulatory environments to Solvency II, the BMA says, well, we can't stand still, we have to introduce something like that. And lastly, I would say the BMA has been a lot more proactive, been on the front foot for the last couple of years in introducing new regulations. So that's a very positive thing for people coming into the jurisdiction to see.